All right. Cool. Looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Sentient Cloud. Uh, just so you know, I may end up having to cut the stream short. But hopefully, if all goes well, then it'll be, just like a normal hour or so stream. All right. So, as the stream title suggests, I want to work on fuzz testing. One of the problems that I've been facing with buffers, like text buffers especially, is just not testing enough edge cases and not actually really kind of finding the problems with my projects. So what I intend to do is to implement some fuzz testing to kind of see if I can force something to go wrong. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and work on this. I'm going to go ahead and let's do reps, so repetitions here, and then we'll do 4 second I reps there, and that should work fine. And then this function I'm going to have to implement within the test file itself. So let me go ahead and do that. So I opened up this test file yesterday, but I didn't really do anything with it apart from just put this test, literally a test case for the tests. So let's go and get rid of that. And let's go ahead. So I'm going to have to define a function in order for that fuzz test to work. So let's do it's void then it's called fuzz test, and this is going to take a buffer pointer. It's called buffer. Okay. And then I think that's everything. I don't think there's anything else that needs to go in there. So go ahead. So I already have it so that the random number generator will be initialized with the current time, so I don't need to worry about seeding the RNG. So now we'll do first is let's see, length. And this is going to, we'll say that's going to be limited to 256 for now. That may prove too small to really test properly, but for now we'll stick with that. We need a, let's swap that. So 256. Now for at some point here, I need to implement the dd and yy commands for copying, because those are quite convenient and I've gotten used to them again. Okay. Length. Actually, I should probably go ahead and try and add 1. Okay. So now, I is going to receive a random character. So call rand again. And then let's do index. That's going to equal this, and then length. So one of the things that this buffer will do is that if I try and send it an index that is greater than length, in fact, I'll I'll finish this up real quick, and then I'll show you guys the actual code for the gap buffer, because that's kind of important. And actually, let's go ahead and do char and 6. Let's say this is a reference, not a pointer. Okay. Oops. Am I missing anything? I don't think I am. Guess I should do that. Because when you use modulo like this, or the modulo operator, I don't know which, it'll go just below whatever number you specify. So if I do +1, then it'll make it slightly more. Okay, so that should work. And then I need to put buffer insert, and we do the buff. And then I think the next one is length, so we'll change this, because these are all random, so I'm not gonna do this there. Okay. So just do length and index. And let's see. It shouldn't fail. If it does, then, well, that's a different issue, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. So we'll do test fuzz, and we'll do, let's go ahead and initialize the gap buffer real quick. Buffer, char 096, and then init. Don't think there's, I'd have to check the spec, or the definition again. But for now, we'll just go with buffer as the object, plus test is the function, and the repetitions, let's start with just 1,000. That's relatively reasonable. Okay. Go to buffer p, and I'll show you guys what this looks like. So, for context, there was a person who had commented on a video when I'd done like a just dedicated video talking about when I was making a gap buffer, and then later in a recent stream, somebody was talking about making an SDL capable gap buffer, and I found that doing that would actually have some benefit, because one of the things that my kind of current text buffer wants to have is a like I kind of want to have line numbers, but the way that I'm doing it currently in the text buffer is I have a vector of lines that come before the cursor and a vector of lines that come after the cursor, and that's not ideal. So I'm basically making it so that I can have a gap buffer for the character data and a gap buffer for the line data. And so I figured it would make more sense to just do it like this. So we've got type name t, that's going to be, either chars or whatever integer I choose for line numbers, probably a size _t. And then the unsigned n here is for basically the steps of allocation sizes. So you could set this to be whatever size is most convenient. Right now I'm choosing it for it to be 496 bytes, so 4 kilobytes. Okay, yeah, so I need to make sure to specify the size when I go back. But let me just go and continue here real quick. A couple things. So for the length, that can be calculated using the capacity minus the end, so that gets you the total amount of characters past the cursor, and then you add start. That gets you the total length of the structure. And then advance and retreat are probably not going to be used by just the system itself. It will generally avoid trying to reference them specifically, and it will instead just enter the index, and then if the index is different, then it'll move. The one exception to that, I think, would be in the case where The like if you're moving a lot of spaces and you're not inserting a lot of characters, you could lead to a bit of a slowdown when you next try to insert a character because the time it takes to copy all the data over increases linearly. I don't know if that's going to be a huge problem. It may end up being more of a problem than I'm thinking, but if it is, then it's not a huge deal. I can always, figure something out with that. Okay, so, but most everything else here is kind of very similar to what it was before. I just kind of simplified it and made it very specifically focused on just the data. So there's no function for printing. There's no function for getting the kind of character distance, which would require me to understand the data and really care what type of data I'm working with. This is very much data agnostic. Like it's not particularly concerned with what type of data you're dealing with, just that you have data that you need to deal with. Okay, so let's go tests. And let me just go ahead and go in here, make sure that this is initialized, and I'll say it just starts at 496. Okay, so let's try. Yeah, I think that's everything. Okay. Okay, let's fix that real quick. And that is in APP. Let's just make sure we fix that real quick. This is something I'm going to have to go back and fix at some point, but for now, we'll leave it. Okay. Then move, let's see. Okay, so some of this stuff is just because the text buffer is very tightly linked. Okay, hold on. So first off, in gap buffer, we need to go ahead and include C-string. That's where all of those mem copy, mem move functions are located, which is a little weird, but yeah. And then we need to go to textbuffer.cpp and fix these. So for now, I'm just going to, let's see. Yeah, some of this is just a little bit. I kind of want to just comment all this out, just so I don't have to fuss about it. I'm going to do a lot of cleanup here. Cursor position, let's go ahead and do this. Yeah. And then this. So let's go ahead and pop this out. These are all going to end up being changed anyway, so it's not some great terrible thing. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see. Probably emit a bunch of warnings. Let's see. insert is hold on. Let's just clear this out real quick. 6, 0. Once this fuzz testing thing works and I can actually really hammer the gap data structure and can be fairly confident that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, I'm going to work on the text buffer itself, because obviously this is kind of a bit silly, just how much stuff needs to be fixed. Yeah, this goes this can be here. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let's see, that's fine. Yeah, none of these exist anymore, so we'll just go ahead and clear these out. And if you didn't notice already, I've kind of changed my sort of standard function naming scheme. So some minor changes there. Okay, yeah, this one's going to go basically in its entirety. So let's go like this. And then scope count. Okay, this is one. I thought this was a good idea initially, but having the having this influence the scope was a massive mistake. It just was. And that's unfortunate, but that is just kind of how it was. Okay, let me just go ahead and comment this out as well, because I don't really need it. And it's just going to there. Okay, cool. That's everything there. Let's see what we get. Okay. Where is that located? Okay, so that's an HPP. Buffer size. Okay, that needs to go. Jeez. So we'll just go and do that, because that's actually what it's supposed to be. And then get cursor X, line index. For now, we'll just have it return 0. This is going to be something that I'm going to have to implement a specific function for. Otherwise, yeah, it's just not going to work. Okay. That's everything in the Yeah, that's kind of, I think that's fine, except for this part. Okay, that's fine there. What else am I missing? I think it was like advanced still exists. And it doesn't. I know I saw something around like 200. Ah, here it is. Here you are. Okay. That's why. $226, it looks like. And okay, now those are just warnings. So let's move and t-shirt. Yeah, that's all in comments. So what's going on there? Let's see, invalid conversion from char to, okay. Okay, so is that in, here it is. Sure, it's a reference. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's see what we get. Right, index must not be greater than length. Okay, so how did that fail? Because incorrectly using this. Hold on. Let's go here real quick. Okay. So I think that everything there is correct. So what's the problem? Let's see, buffer.length. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not it. Okay. What's going on here? Insert size 10. Jeez. Okay. Just make sure I've got things in the right order. Okay. So yeah, it's data, length, and then index. So length shouldn't, or I should say index shouldn't be greater than length. It should never be greater than length. So what gives? Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so length. Yeah, so if I use modulo or modulus, I need to look it up now because I'm gonna get modulus. There we go. Let's see. Okay. So it looks like the modulus is the number that you are using for the modulo. Hold on. 1 moment. All right. Okay. So why is that greater? It shouldn't be greater. Like it would be equal to the length. How is that becoming greater? Don't because the modulo operator will always return 0 to 1 minus whatever number is the modulus. So what? Okay. I guess I will need to let's try it just like this right now and see if that fixes the issue. Okay, floating point exception. Comparison. Okay, that's oh yeah. Let's do this. Where is the floating point exception happening? Hold on. Let's see operator precedence. Make sure I'm not getting this stuff wrong. Okay. So casts happen before everything else, or before at least the modulo, or remainder. So that's weird. So I want to try this again real quick, just to see. Yeah. So for whatever reason, it's doing that, which is weird, but yeah, whatever. Okay. Oops. Okay, let's test this again. Floating point exception. So what is going on there? Hold on. Causes for exception. So just divide by 0. Okay, so what am I dividing? Where am I dividing things here? I think I'm doing any kind of division. Certainly not. But, like, I'm not doing anything with floating points at all. And guess I should probably make sure that then I can go here and let's see, modify size. N plus 1 times n. That just kind of makes sure that it adheres to the sort of sizing increments that I'm wanting to work with. Okay, so oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. That could be why. Hold on. Test slash CPP. Is that it? Okay. This gap buffer starts at 0. Oh, okay, that. That kind of makes sense. Okay, so if it's equals 0, then just do it like this. Size index equals 0. Just say that. Or I don't need to assign anything there. Okay, that equals 0, then index equals 0. Else. I'll just actually do it like this because they're all single line anyway. Okay. Okay. I think that'll work. And then that shouldn't, it shouldn't have problems there. So, okay. Let's try this again. Okay, index must not be greater than length. So, assertion. Okay. Why is it saying? So then length must be being reported incorrectly somewhere. So when you initialize it, n becomes capacity. Length should be 0 right there. And let's see. So okay. So it's right here. Maybe I should have it so that the function prints out a bunch of stuff, like reports a bunch of data, because I'm very confused why it's failing. So what I'll do, let's see, let's print out a bunch of stuff. So printf, front. Okay, I need, what do I need? Okay, I don't need the character data for this. I do need the, start there. I need the data length and the index. Those are the things that I definitely do need. This to be able to actually figure out what's going on here. Okay, so buffer length. Let's just buffer length, data length, and index. Okay, let's try this. Make this. Okay. All right, so buffer length is 0. Index is also 0. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. I figured out why. That's stupid. I was stupid there. That explains so much. Oh dear. Okay. Here we go. First assert. Insert. Assert. Just gonna make sure these are all. Yeah. Okay. And I actually do need to fix one of the if statements here. So remove back, if you didn't know, removes behind, or yeah, after the cursor. And so the way that you do that is you just basically increment the end pointer. And in order for that to work, see, best way to put it. Let's see, how do I do that? So I think in this case it would be t minus length, sorry, minus end. If that is true, then this needs to be just capped at that. If then yeah, okay, so that's limiting the size there. This be slightly improved. Just to make it slightly smaller. Okay. I think that's everything I need to do. Okay. So. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Why is that not increasing? Okay. So there's something else going wrong. Okay. So that should be working. Why is that not working? Excuse me. So is insert just not correctly recording or modifying the start? Is that what's going on? Okay, so this should never return 0 unless it's not, unless start does not equal index. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold up. Okay, I think I see what's going on here. Start is not being printed. That might explain what's going on. Okay. Yeah, okay. And these should always be increasing. So that's fine. Double free or corruption. Oh, interesting. Okay, what's going on there? We go through. We went through a lot of iterations, so I'm guessing that's occurred at the end. So what do we got here? If buffer, then delete buffer. That seems like it should be fine. Maybe it's a resize problem? Wait a minute. Am I forgetting? I am forgetting. Oh. Well, at least in part, I'm forgetting to properly get rid of this. So let's go ahead and... Yeah. So, delete buffer. So new buffer. There we go. Okay, that is every test successful. Now, let's see. So, got inserts of length. Okay, hold on now, because I think I can actually fix this, because this should now be the +1 thing. It should be +1. Because that is going to... Oh, wait a minute, and hold on. So, modulo 1 would always be 0. This will always be at least 1. So this can go away then. Oh, I can get rid of this. Save myself a bit of extra code. I think that'll work. Yeah, nice. Okay. And yeah, the first one is going to be let's go ahead. Weird. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do a couple others. So let's do. So I'll change this to fuzz insert, and we'll just make a bunch of these sorts of tests. So insert. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. I've already kind of tested fuzz advance. So let's test fuzz remove now. Fuzz remove. Let's take a gap buffer. Stick with this type. I don't need a char buffer. I do need a length. And we'll basically just copy all of this and just paste it. And that should be fine. Hopefully, I need to replace this tab character with something a little more unusual, because C obviously uses angle brackets for things. This doesn't need to exist. Just get rid of you. Goodbye. Once I'm more confident in the delete selection capabilities of the editor, I'll probably start using that more, but until then I'm kind of stuck with this. Okay, index is fine, I think. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So, let's see, date length, index, buffer length. Yeah, okay. So we just want to know what those are. And then here, let's go like that. Nice. And we'll just go in here and test fuzz. Fuzz remove. And say 1,000 iterations. Should be remove, and we'll say remove back. Remove front. Remove front. Change this to remove. Just to make sure. I may not necessarily need remove front and back, but I think I'm just going to stick with it for now. Okay. Okay, cool. So this is cool. Yeah, okay, so the fuzzing seems to work okay. The one problem, and this is something that's pretty common, it's not like you can, it doesn't test edge cases very well. So I'm going to have to do that kind of stuff manually. But that's not what fuzz testing is for. It's for just testing like cases that are difficult to replicate by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and just comment these out real quick. And we'll just do this. So start with buffer inserts, and I want to insert hello length just do size of hello, this one, and then index will be 0. I might actually put in an insert front and back. I think about it, because both of those are useful, and one of the things that a gap buffer lets you do fairly easily is just put stuff into the buffer on either side of the cursor. I could see that there being a use case for that, so I might implement that later. Okay, so let's do. Pardon me. Okay. Let's do 100 or 1,000, whatever, doesn't matter. And 4. We'll do 4. That should not fail. And we do test case here. Should not equal 0. And this, I think that should equal 4. It doesn't, then something's up. Of course. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to obviously do some more testing of this, but just preliminary stuff does seem to be um, doing okay. I'm probably going to make some changes, like basically making it so that uh, all of these various functions that return the number of things that are inserted, like for example, this one will return the number of characters that you move, and some others will return the number of characters inserted or whatnot. I want to replace that with just result, and then I can make all of these arguments references, all these parameters. Um, there are a couple of benefits there. One, you save on copying, because if you didn't know, when you do a reference, it just basically tells the function to use whatever is the I guess local instance, whatever you want to call it, of that variable. Because normally functions in C or C++ are copied, or the function arguments are copied, which is fine if you are if you need to copy that variable, then that's perfectly fine. But otherwise, you may not want to do that. It will save you a very, very, very small amount of performance, and it'll also potentially give you the option of reporting what actually happened a bit better. So, like for example, if I discover that insert failed, it's a lot easier to propagate those failures when you're returning a result than it is when you return the length, right? Because if you like, there could be theoretically instances where it attempts to insert 0, so you can't rely on it actually inserting 0. At least I don't think you can. I don't think that would be necessarily something I would rely on. So anyway, I think that's probably it for today. Managed to get some decent work done, and I'll continue kind of cleaning things up, and then obviously show you guys more possibly tomorrow. Depends. My schedule's a little up in the air at the moment, but either way, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again next time. Have a great day.